What did we learn in our previous session? Come on. What did we learn in our previous session? Oh, practicing. So we learned about the methods and the written types of methods. So how do we create methods? How do we use those methods? How can we use the methods without written keyword? There is no written keyword. And then how do we, if you want to pass some value to the outside of this method, then how do we use that? So we have to use this written keyword, and along with that, we have to also mention that what is the type of that data in the written type. Okay, so this is the access specifier, this is the area specifier, and then this is the return type, this is the method. That's what we learn. And then how do we return multiple values? Right? Some array, and then we are returning that array. This was what we learned in our previous session. We also saw it by executing them. Okay, so we called get names, which is returning an array of names, get names. Then we also printed those. Now I gave a task. Not sure if you did or not. Now let us see last topic in methods, that is parameterization. Okay, so the same okay, I'm going to create a new class. So parameterization. Now, suppose I'm having a method called add. Public void login. Okay. Having a method called login. Here I'm saying so entered username plus entered username. Okay. So some operation we are doing actually. Password is then so so suppose we are having a login method here. Okay. Now if you want to call it, just make it static so that I can use it directly. Static to static and save class. This was what we already learned. Call it. See, the method is being called and then it is entering, for example, let us assume that this is entering username as this and password as this, and then clicking on login. But now, if you want to log in with your credentials, can you call this login method? Whoever calls this login method, but still it is going to enter the same username and same password, right? So that is, I don't want to have these values fixed or hard coded. I want to pass these values from the outside world to this method. Then we are going to use the concept of parameterization. Okay, this is the concept that we are going to use to pass these values from the outside world to this method. Okay, I'm going to create another another method. Static void login login using credentials. Some method. And what are the things that I want? I want the username and then password. Two things. So like this, I can pass this. I can add whatever the variables that I want to pass or whatever the values that I'm going to pass from outside world. I'm going to have those parameters here. So I want two values to be passed from outside world. That is the name and password. So I'm passing them as parameters. And inside it, the same statement. Instead of this, say plus uname, because this is the parameter that is going to get from outside. Okay. Then again plus, that's all. Now we will be able to pass this values from the outside. Now let us call this method by passing the parameters. Now here I want to pass some values and say password is just pwd at the rate of 1. pwd at the rate of 1. Now, so whatever the value that I am passing from here, you see, when you observe this login using credentials, the first parameter is assigned to username and the second parameter is password. So whatever I am passing here will be assigned to username. Whatever I am passing in the second place, that will be assigned to password. And inside it, so this username will be used here and password will be used here. That's all. So you have to follow the sequential order of this parameterization. First one should be username, second one should be password. If you give it reverse, this will not understand that okay, this is password, so I should give it, I should take into this variable, and this is username, I should take into this username. It won't be able to understand. Let me show you. I call the same method again, but okay.
Okay, we can't hear you.
I haven't spoken altered patterns. Can you hear now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
See. Okay. Here you see entered username is Bobby and the password is pwd at the rate of 123. Whatever values I'm passing, that is coming here. That's fine. But when I don't maintain the parameter order, first one is uname, second one is password. But here, what did I do? I gave password and then uname. So when I try to run, you see, username is pwd at the rate of 123, password is Bobby. Is that correct? No, right? It's not password. This is username and this is password. But it is giving in reverse order because I passed parameters in such way. In place of uname, uname is the first one. That is the first parameter. In place of uname, I am passing this value. So what this method is assuming, whatever the first value that is being passed here will be uname, and the second value passing here will be password. It doesn't care whether this value is a password or this value is a password. In which order are you passing? And in which order the parameters are. The same order in which order the parameters are, the same order we should follow to pass the values into this method. If you interchange, these values will be interchanged and it might lead to some errors or it won't be able to log into the application in this case. Is that clear? How to use parameterization? So this is how we pass these parameters, and the order should be retained. Whatever the order of the parameters you mentioned inside the method parameters, the same order should be retained and pass the parameters in the same order. Okay, all right. Well, now, or here I give this in double quotes directly. I'm passing those as strings. Okay. Now I can also store the ID is equals to PWD is equals to. So I can also store like this. Kanji just okay. I can call this not with this. I can just pass this user ID comma password. That's it. So when you are having these values stored in some of the variables, then you can just pass those variables to see and then test password 1 2 1 2. Like this we can do it. Okay, this is about method parameterization. We are passing individual parameters or single values as parameters, and how to pass multiple values, passing multiple values to. So to pass multiple values to method, again the same concept. To return multiple values, we use the rest, and in the same way, if you want to pass multiple values, then we have to use arrays or any other collection items. But we are not yet completed to the collection. So let's pass arrays now. We'll create some array, either array of uh, grades or marks. Scores. Okay, is equals to I can store some values into this scores. 100, 150, 110, 60, 59, 40. These are the scores of players, or these are the scores of a student. Now, I want to print all the scores. Public static void. I'm going to use a method called print scores. And this. So we want to pass multiple values. So we have to mention that what type of multiple values? Integer, array, and then I can say that's score. Okay. In this, I know this is a type of array. So you know how to print values from array, right? For each runs scored. For each run in runs scored. What we want to do? Just print it. Run. That's all. Now how do we pass this? Same. We call the method name print scores, and that is taking the array variable. That's all. This is how we can pass multiple values into a method. See, all the values are printed here, which is from inside the method print scores. Okay. All right. Now see here, we are having two parameters. We know that we are going to pass two parameters. So that is why we are using this. Okay. Suppose we have a method that is going to have unknown number of parameters. We don't know. So here we know that we are going to pass multiple values to this method. Okay, that is fine. But we want to pass multiple parameters itself. I have multiple parameters that needs to be used. And I don't know how many number of parameters. For example, if you see here, let us take the same example. Login using credentials. How many parameters are there here? Two, right? So now we are going to call only, we are going to use this method only with the two parameters. So suppose if I try to add extra parameters, correct? Okay, so I'll say value 1, 2, value 3. For example, if I'm using, is it allowing me to enter multiple values, unknown number of parameters? See, it is giving me an error. The method login using string in the type of this is not applicable for 3 arguments. It should be only 2 arguments. It should not be 3 arguments. It is giving us an error, right? If I pass some extra value, this is not going to get executed because this method is expecting only 2 parameters, but we are giving 3 values. So this method doesn't work. It is going to throw us an error when you give some extra parameters. But for suppose, I don't know when will I pass one parameter, I don't know when will I pass two parameters, I don't know when will I pass three parameters. I don't know how many parameters I'm going to pass at all. In that case, we have a concept of parameters. Okay. So in that case, we are going to create a method like this, public static void commits. Okay. So see, why am I using this is, for example, do you know how many comments will you have on your Facebook or YouTube? Suppose you have a Facebook post, and will you be able to predict that okay, I'm going to get 3 comments for this post, or I'm going to get 4 comments for this post? Will you be able to do that? No, right? There might be 10, there might be 20, there might be 100. We don't know how many comments that we are going to have in the post. So in that case, if you want to read each comment and then print them. So we cannot keep comment 1, comma, comment 2, and then again we cannot change from 1 to 3, right? So that is why we are going to use a type, comments are of type string. So string, and then we don't know how many parameters are we going to pass, so we just use this 3 dots. Okay, and then some variable. Comment text. Okay, this is how we are going to use. Now, this comment text is of type array. When you pass this, you see here string array. When you mention like this string dot dot dot, so this is a parameter, array parameter. So we are going to have the same string type parameters unknown number of times, unknown number of times. So if you want to print it again, we are going to use this for each value, for each comment in comment text. So plus that's all. Okay. Now if you want to pass this, then you will pass same method. Right? Okay. Now you See, I'm going to call the same method with two parameters. Is it throwing any error? Earlier, when I used login credentials with the third parameter, it was throwing error because it was saying that this method is accepting only two parameters and not the third parameter. But now you see here, print comments, I'm passing one, it is accepting. Passing two, it is accepting. Then I'll pass three parameters also, it will accept without any error, without any issues. See, I'm passing three different parameters. 1, 2, and 3. But here, how many am I accepting? Only one. But since I mentioned this dot dot dot, this method will accept any number of parameters that we have, that we pass. Okay. Now we see. Without any error, it will print all the comments. You see, 1, 2, and 3. Understood? Okay. So there are some rules for this unknown number of parameters. Those rules are this: if you are having other parameters as well, then this parameter should be the last parameter. After this, you cannot have any parameters like this. You see, this is not going to allow you. When I observe, you observe this, the variable argument type string of method print comments must be the last parameter. You see it? Must be the last parameter. Got it? This should be the last parameter. So it cannot be in the first position. This should be always in the last position. Okay. Let me cut this for example and then paste it here. You see now the same parameter, but it is not throwing any error since it is the last parameter. Understood? Always this dot 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 method or dot 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 parameter should be the last parameter. After this parameter, you cannot add any other parameters. You can only add parameters before this. After this, you can add. Is that clear? Keyword without return, with return, returning multiple values. This was the task I gave you, and then parameters, multiple values as parameter and unknown number of parameters. So for unknown number of parameters, use triple dot, and it should be the last parameter, and it stores a single data. That's all. Single data type means if you are saying string, only strings. If you are saying integer, only integers. That's all. That we already. This is all about methods, method return types, and method parameterization. Okay. Any questions in this? Okay. So now next topic is constructors and then collections. So first let us see constructors and then we'll go for collections. Okay. So what is a constructor? Okay. A new class. create a new class here, class, dummy class. Okay. So I created another, sorry, for class. This is how we create. Okay. Now, for suppose I have some values or some methods inside this. For example, uh, static or anything void name. Okay. So I have this, and then I'm going to pass string name, and here I'm printing it. Okay. Now I want to print name, but that print name is not in our class. Our class is seen and in constructor. Is that method in our class? No. That method is inside dummy class. So in order to use the method of print name from dummy class inside this class main method, what should we do? What should we do? Okay, we'll create an object. We are going to create an object. Dummy class object is equals to new dummy class. You see here, this is the class name, but do we have parentheses for this class name? For what do we have parentheses? Actually for the methods, right? But is dummy class a method? No, it's not a method. It's the name of the class, but we are giving these parameters. Why? From where is this coming? From where this method is coming?
We are calling, right?
Yeah, we are calling this, but where is this method? We are asking to create a new object for this method. But where is this method? Okay, let me show you that something. Okay, now I'll be able to use this class object dot print name. This is fine. I'm going to pass NIKIR. I'm going to pass. This is going to work, and your class is going to understand that this class object is of type dummy class, and this is created with the help of new keyword by calling this method. Right? This is a method, but do we have this method inside this dummy class? No. Let me run this and show it to you. It will work without any issue. We have created so many objects till now. You see name printed. Okay. Why? Because if you are creating an object, the syntax for creating an object for a class is class name, object name is equals to new, and this is the constructor. We are going to create, or we are going to call the constructor method. But by default, if you don't have anything written for constructor, then whether it is present or it is not present, Java will assume that there is an empty constructor inside this class. Okay, that empty constructor means it should be always have the same name of the class. See, class name and the constructor name both are same. Class name and the constructor name both are same. Then only it will be treated as a constructor. If you don't have this, for example, dummy classes, then this is going to be treated as a normal method. This is not going to be treated as a constructor. This is going to be treated as a normal method. Whenever there is a method name with the same name as class name, then that will be treated as a constructor. Constructor does not return anything. constructors does not return anything. So that is why we are not going to use this void. If this is public, that's not a problem. But since this does not return anything, even if I mention void, it will throw me an error. Or it's okay, void, but if I make it teaser, when you see there is a warning or error, this method must return a result type of int. Okay, and just writing return there, for example. Okay, now you see there is a warning again. What is it saying? This method has a constructor name. This method has a constructor name, but you are trying to return some value. Since constructor does not return anything, this should not return anything. Okay, now you see again it will show the same one. This method has a constructor name. So it is assuming that this is a method, it is not a constructor, but it is giving us a warning that this method has the same name as the constructor. Why it is not treating this as constructor? Because we mentioned the return type. Since constructors does not have any return type, so if you put some return type here, it is assuming that this is a normal method, not a constructor. Okay. Now you see the warning is gone because this is a constructor name. Okay. So even whenever you are creating an object for a class like this, okay, so it will assume that whether it is there or not, it will assume that there is like this empty constructor inside this. Your Java will assume that it has this empty constructor. Okay. Now I create. So just message from some implementation I wrote inside this constructor, and I'm calling. Okay, I created an object and I'm calling the. Now you see it should print only this Nikhil Gunda, but it is also going to print this. You see it? You see test message from constructor. Right? If you don't have a constructor, then it is going to assume that we are having an empty constructor like this. But if your Java is assuming that an empty constructor is present. And whenever you are creating an object, so with this we also understood one more thing. Whenever you are creating an object, the first method that is going to get executed from that class is the constructor method. This is nothing but we are calling the constructor method. Okay. So whenever you are creating an object for this dummy class, then the first method that is going to get executed is the constructor. Okay. So we learned. Okay, I think I already have the notes.
Can you show the output also, Nikhil?
Yeah, sure.
So the test message from constructor, it is calling from the constructor. Where is that Nikhil comes from?
I called this print name, right?
Okay.
Print name. This print name is passing to this method and it is printing here. Okay. Alright. So I have some notes for this constructor. Okay, what is this? Constructor method should have the same name as class name that we already saw. If we just change it, it's saying that it is being treated as a normal method and it is asking the return type of this method. Or if you want to change it to constructor, it should be having the same name as the class name. Okay. Right. And then constructors can be parameterized. So I can also create a constructor with a parameter. For example, I'll say string sample. Okay, I have a constructor, but you see when I'm creating an object, it is throwing an error. Because when you create a constructor with parameter, you have to implement your own empty constructor without the parameter. When you say that this dummy class is going to have a dummy class, I mean, this is a constructor with a single parameter. So that means we are forcing that if you want to create an object for this dummy class, you should definitely pass a parameter. But how do we pass a parameter? Where are we calling this dummy class object? While we create the object, right? So I can pass some string here. Now you see the error is gone. We can pass parameters to the constructor. Now, if you want to create the object for dummy class without the parameter, it is not possible because it will force us to create a pass parameter. But I want to call or I want to create an object for this class without parameter. Then in that case, if you are creating a constructor with a parameter, then you can also create an empty constructor. You should also create an empty constructor. Whether it might have anything inside it or not, you have to just create it and leave it. Now you see, I'll also be able to create an object for the same class, but without the parameters. You see, when you don't have any constructor, your Java is assuming that there is an empty constructor. But you know that you have already implemented a constructor with parameter. That means you know that you are going to implement some constructors. So Java will not by default implement the empty constructor because it is assuming that you are going to use this class only with the parameter and you need this parameter for this class mandatorily. Okay. If you don't want it, if you don't need it mandatorily, then you can implement the constructor without the parameter again, without parameters, empty constructor, so that you can use or you can create this object with this empty parameter or without this. Okay. Right. So this concept you see here, the same name, method name, same as dummy class and same as dummy class. So it can have the same name for different methods with the concept of method overloading that we'll see a little later. Though this is a duplicate method name, dummy class and dummy class, but still it is allowing because here it doesn't have any parameters, it is having one parameter. So that is why it is allowing us. This is another concept called method overloading that we'll see when we are learning about object-oriented programming. Okay.
Which one will it will take that? The one with the parameter or without parameter?
It's up to us. If you want to create, if you want to see, we also learned the other thing that right, this one. Constructors are executed where the class is initialized or instance is created. So when you are creating an object for this class, that constructors are going to execute first, right? Constructors are the first thing that are going to get executed. If you want to pass some values to this class by default, whenever the user is creating an object, if you want to pass the parameters, then you should use this with parameters. If you don't have anything that needs to be passed, then you can use a class or a constructor without the parameters. It's up to us. Okay. Constructors can be parameterized. Okay, example showing parameterization for constructor. We have seen it, and then a class can have multiple constructors. Just now I've created. You see, this is one constructor, and this is the second constructor. So we can have any number of constructors here, but that will also include method overloading concept. Okay. All right, and then constructors are executed where the class is initialized or instantiated. So these are the first things that are going to get execute when you create an object. Okay, and we also saw this constructors does not have any return values. If we mention any return type, it is not be treated as a constructor. That we have already seen. And then constructors are the first thing that executed in a class when you create an object, that we have seen just now. Whenever you are calling this line is getting printed, right, when we are creating an object. So constructors are the first methods that get executed when you create an object. Okay, and then using constructor is not mandatory, that we already know because we have created so many classes, but we never created constructors for that classes, right? So this is not mandatory. even if you don't mention anything here, you don't create any constructor, then Java will by default assume that this constructor, empty constructor, is present inside this class. So already it is assuming, so why do we have to create? If you don't have anything specifically that needs to be done when you create an object for this, then you cannot, you can ignore this part. But if you have something that needs to be done when you create an object for this class, then you have to use this constructor and write something inside this constructor. Okay. All right. So that is a constructor. Okay. So in real time, where we use these constructors are used generally for logging into the app or opening the application as constructors. As the constructors execute by default. First place. So this is for example. So if you are writing the automation code, okay, we have some class where we are performing some operations. But whenever we want to perform the operation, the user should be logged into the application by default. Right? You don't have to mention it always. Whenever you create this object for this class, you write the logic of logging into the portal or credentials here. So that whenever you create an object, by default, it will open the browser and then it will log into the portal and then leave it for us. So from there, we are going to perform the operations like that. Okay. So constructors are the default methods. It is going to get executed. Or this we are going to write or implement constructors when we have some values or some things that we are getting from outside world, and those values that we are going to use inside this class method. For example, where are those strings? We work about string operations. See the string builder. See string builder. We are by default passing this string because this string is an outside variable which is from this class, but this variable has to go into this class, string builder class. So how are we going to pass it? By creating a constructor with the parameter. So it forces us to enter the values. If you see, if I remove this, it will not allow me. Okay, I think it has empty constructor as well. You see, this is the string builder class, and inside this you have empty constructor. I mean, without parameters. You see it. So when you are calling this, what is it doing? You see, it is calling some other method, super with 16. That means it is going to create capacity, memory for 16 characters by default. When I pass some value, that is going to create an object for with that. And when I am passing a string, it is going to create, you see, string is the initial contents of the buffer. So like this, these are all constructors. You see, constructs. So by default, when you create an object for this class, what should happen? That we are going to write inside this construct. Understood? By default. This is all about constructors. Please remember, these constructors will not return any value to the outside world. Whatever you pass, that will be consumed inside the constructor, but you cannot return anything to the outside world. Okay. All right. And okay, constructors, Chinese anything. Constructor, parameterized constructor. We cannot have return types. If you are having return types, then that will be treated as a normal method, but not a constructor. That is fine. And then let's insert constructor. Okay. Right. So we are done with these constructors. This and parameters. We can have any number of constructors. I can have this two parameters as well. Sample 1, comma, string, sample 2. So this is another thing. You see again, same constructor should have the same class name. Okay, I can pass any number of parameters. sample1 and sample2. If you want to pass or if you want to create an object for this dummy class, you have to create with these two parameters if needed, or you can also create with a single parameter, or you can also create with no parameters. Create using any of these constructors. Okay. You have any questions about me? Fine. So this is what we are going to. This is how we are going to use this constructors. Understood? So constructors are the first methods that are going to get executed when you create an object for a class. These are the first things that are going to get executed. Mandatory rule is the constructor name should be same as the class name. And the other rule is constructor does not return anything. Whatever you are giving, that will be used inside itself, but it cannot return anything. Okay, then you might get some question. Okay, if I want to pass, see, if I'm giving, I'm passing some value from this class, and I'm passing by a constructor, but I want to use that value in other methods of this class. How can we do that? This is not returning anything. So how can we do that? For example, I'm having this sample. Okay, so I'm going to create some variable called string, class variable. Okay, string. I'm going to use string sample value. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm having this sample value from this object, and I'm having here. So what I'm going to do is I'll assign the sample value is equals to sample. See, whenever I'm creating an object for this constructor, okay, let's see, test. Okay, this test is being passed to this, and then inside this constructor, what am I doing? I am assigning that value to the class level variable, so that I can use this inside any of the methods inside the class. Sample value from constructor is plus sample. Now you see, if I run it, see, sample value from constructor is test. Did we get it? Since this methods constructor does not return anything, we cannot say return. But we can do this. You can have these values and you can assign them to the class level variables, so that what will happen? The scope of this variable will be changing from this method to this class. So you can use anywhere inside this class. Okay. So this is all about constructors. Any questions in methods, constructors? Constructor is also a method, but there are some rules for this method. That is, this constructor method name should always be same as the class name, and constructor does not return any values. Rest all, it is similar to the methods concept. Parameters, you can pass single parameter, you can pass multiple parameters, you can pass unknown number of parameters. It's up to you. You can have any other things that you did on methods, but the only rules are it should be the same as class name and it should not return any value. That's all. Okay. So this is all about methods and constructors. Any questions in this constructor? No? Okay. Then let's jump into the other concept called collections. Okay, where we are going to see some time. All right. So why do we have to go to collections? Now, let's go a little back and rewind the concept of arrays. Okay, now we are here. Now, when we tried, you see this example, method 2, we declared a array and then assigned some values. This is the old code, right? We already wrote it in previous classes. Now I declared the size of the string array to be size of 3, right? I assigned 3 values, but when I tried to assign 4th value, what was it throwing? Index out of bounds exception, right? It was throwing this exception, but in real time, I might not sure, I might not know how many values are we going to have here. So I cannot have a fixed size. Can I have a fixed size? No, I cannot, because this size or the number of persons in a single batch can change. So I want to increase an extra value. Arrays, once you declare a size of this array, then you cannot change the size of an array. It is fixed, static in nature. Array cannot be resized. But I want a dynamic array where I can, based on the need, I can increase the size or I can decrease the size. Based on the need. Will it be possible here? So Java doesn't support array resizing. You cannot increase the size or decrease the size based on the elements. Once you say that this is 3, then you should always store, or you should always store up to 3 values. Up to 3. You can store 1, 2, or 3, but you cannot go beyond that. Even though, see, you mentioned size 3 and you stored only one value. Even though you don't mention anything in the other 2 variables or other 2 values, it will be still allocated and will be empty. So in storing, while we are storing 1 value, but we are allocating 3 spaces, it will be still allocated, but there won't be anything inside, and the memory will be still blocked for those 3 values. So we cannot downsize or upsize the array, or simply we cannot resize the arrays once declared at runtime. So once we declared it, but at runtime we cannot change the size of this. These are not dynamic in nature. These are static in nature. But in real time, that doesn't go with us. That we are not going to stick to it. In real time, we are not sure. Sometimes we have 4 values, or sometimes we have 40 values, sometimes we have only 1 value. We cannot keep on creating different objects for arrays, right? With different sizes. So that is the reason we have a dynamic in size or dynamic in nature objects. Those are collections, where you can store, you need not mention the size in the beginning. It will dynamically calculate the size based on the number of values that you entered into that object. Okay, that is the advantage, or that is the difference between arrays and array lists. Okay, so you see, arrays are used to store primitive and reference data types. If the size of an array cannot be changed dynamically, that we know. Arrays size cannot be changed dynamically, or array size cannot be changed at runtime. Once you added, or once you mentioned the size, that's all fixed. That will be the final size. You cannot downsize or resize arrays. And index is used to store or retrieve the data from the array. But we have different types of collections where this index is not used. We don't need index to store. We need index to retrieve, but we didn't need index to store for some of the collection. And for some of the items, we don't even need the index to store or retrieve. So like that. So arrays are static in nature, and their size cannot be changed, whereas collection objects, the size can be changed. Okay. So Java is providing that. So earlier when we have this only arrays, then there are a lot of problems because we don't know the size. How many values are we going to store inside this array? Because these are dynamic in nature, we cannot keep on resizing these arrays. So that is why Java has collections architecture or collections framework inside Java itself by default. Okay. let me show you that what is the Java collections architecture. Java collections. All right, let us open this. See this. You are able to see the image, right? This one. This is Java collections framework. Where is this? Able to see it? This is the framework. This is the collections framework that is present inside Java. So what do we have? There is an iterable interface and there is a collection interface. And this collection interface has three sub interfaces. They are list, queue, and set. Okay. We have, see, interface is nothing but kind of index where we are going to learn this in inheritance concept and interface concept, which we are going to have in object-oriented programming. Okay. For now, you just assume that this is also classes, but without any method implementations. So in this also we'll have methods, but it doesn't have any code implementations. It will just mention the names. Like if you buy a textbook, in the preface, after the preface, you will have an index page where you will have the chapter name and the page number, right? In a similar way, these iterable collection, list, queue, and set, whatever is defined as interface, these interfaces will have only the index. These acts as index. So whatever you mention in the index, that should be implemented. Okay. So these are all index classes or interfaces. Okay. So this is the hierarchy. You should remember this hierarchy, or you should know this hierarchy so that you can work on it. So we have iterable interface, which is implemented by collection, extended, because interface to interface it is extending, and interface to class it will be implementation. Okay, so this iterable interface is extended by collection, and this collection is again extended by three subclasses or sub interfaces. They are list, queue, and set. So till here we have interfaces. Inside these interfaces, whatever the index is mentioned in this list, all those methods are implemented inside these classes. So we have array list, linked list, vector, and stack. These are all the four different types of classes which are present inside the list. And the queue, we have a priority queue and a DQ. Priority queue, array DQ. So we have these classes inside queue and DQ. And when we go to set, we have hash set and linked hash set, and then we have a sorted set, which is again extending the set interface. This sorted set is implemented by tree set class. Okay, so now inside this we are nowadays we are not going to use vector and stack, so we are going to skip this, and then we are not going to use any queues now, so we are going to skip this queues, and then we are going to use set. So I'll explain this set, and we are going to use array list. So I'm going to use this explain this array list and linked list. I'll explain array list. There will be a small difference between array list and linked list, so that you have to find out, you have to learn what is array list, what is the difference between array list and linked list. All the methods, all the ways of operating this array list and linked list will be same, but there will be small differences. Those small differences you can Google and find out them. What is the difference between array list and linked list? Okay. Similarly, in set, we are going to learn hash set, and then a task for you is finding the difference between hash set and linked hash sets. Okay, and also difference between hash set and sorted set. Okay, if you learn this hash set, the set is completely learned. You don't have to worry about it. You will get everything about the set. There will be a small difference between sorted set and hash set. You have to learn. You have to understand that difference. You have to know what is the difference. And similarly, there is a small difference between array list and linked list. You have to understand. So in interviews, you might get what is the difference between array list and linked list. So inside the same category, you might get a question asking what is the difference between array list and linked list. Or they might ask you a question, what is the difference between list and set? Once we learn what is list, what is set, you can mention that. Okay. So this is the hierarchy. Now we are going to see what is this iterable, and we are also going to learn one method from this iterable interface. We are going to use it. Till now we have seen for iteration we have only for loop, while loop, do while loop, right? Now we are also going to use iterator. Okay, so let us see what is that iterator and what is this iterable. And then inside this collections framework we are going to use a list and the set. No need of these queues and dequeues, so let's ignore these queues and dequeues. Okay, and we have another concept as part of the same collections, that is maps. Yeah, I have in this maps. Same similar kind of image. You see iterable interface and then collection is implemented by list, set, queue and dequeue. So the same image, and then inside this list we have array list, linked list, vector, and then queue we have priority queue, dequeue we have array dequeue, and set we have hash set, linked hash set, sorted set, reset. Whatever we have seen here, the same representation but drawn in a different way. Okay. Then separate from this collection, we have another thing called map. You see this? Maps is also part of the collection framework, but it is a separate interface. So this map, in this we are going to use hash map. Okay, we are going to create an object for this hash map, and we are going to use or implement this hash map class. And there will be some small differences between this hash table, sorted map, and tree map. So once we learn about this hash map, you can explore on what is hash table, what is sorted map, and what is tree map. You can find the differences between this. You might also get a question, what is the difference between array list and hash map? Or you might also get the question on what is the difference between hash set and hash map. So once you learn these concepts, you can understand the differences and you can explain them. Okay. So now this is the introduction to the collection framework. So whatever is having here, all of these are dynamic in nature. So at runtime, you can increase or decrease the size of this list or queue or set or map. It is not needed to have a fixed size for these objects. You can increase them. How is it getting increased? There are some formulas. By default, whenever you create an object, see, when we are creating an object for array, right? When we are creating arrays, here we are mentioning the size of the array, right? So whenever we mention the size of an array, your compiler or Java is able to understand, okay, I'm going to get string type of values and I'm going to get 3 strings. So it is going to allocate only 3 memory locations. So because we mentioned 3 here, it is allocating 3 memory spaces. But for array, collection framework, we are not, like I said, the size will be dynamic in nature. So we are not going to mention the size prior to it. Then how is it going to do? So when you create an object, by default, it will allocate some memory. For example, if it is allocating size 1, then later we are adding the second element. So when you try to add the second element, automatically inside the compiler is going to increase the size of this list. Size of list formula. See, there is a formula for this which is being implemented. You see, new capacity is equals to old capacity into 3 by 2 plus 1. So for example, a notepad, okay, I'll copy this formula. This is the formula. By default, this is going to be used to increase the size of this options. So for example, my old capacity, or I have an array list with a size 3. Okay. So what is the old size now? 3. Now I am going to add array list plus 1 value. So that means I want to add the 4th value. So when the size is almost full, already there are initially there are 3 elements, so it is already 3. Now I want to add another extra value. So when you are doing that, when you reach the full capacity, so it is going to increase the size automatically. How is it going to increase? Now old capacity is 3, right? Now 3 into 3. So what is the value? 9. And then 9 divided by 2. If you are using this slash, it is going to give us a quotient. So what is the value of this? 9 by 2 is 4, right? Remainder will be 1, quotient will be 4. And then we want to add plus 1, 5. So initially the size was 3. And then now when the third element, so if you are already, when you are trying to fill the 3 values inside array list, then it is reaching its capacity. Once it reaches its capacity, it is going to increase the size automatically to size 5 by using this formula. We don't have to do anything. Inside Java, it is doing this automatically. It is going to get the old capacity, and based on the old capacity, it is going to, based on the old capacity, it is applying this formula, and then it is allocating 2 new memory allocations. Earlier it was 3, now it will be 5. So that you can add AL plus 1 again. Now already 3 were there. This is 4th and 5th. Now we already reached the top position. So what it is going to do? So old capacity into 3, it is going to increase the size dynamically now. 5 into 3 is 15 by 2 is equals to 7, and then plus 1, so is equals to 8. So now when you have these 5 values, the size of the array list or the size of the collection will become 8 automatically. You don't have to do anything. It will be done automatically. So you understood, this is how it is resizing the collections framework or resizing the collections objects. Is that clear? I know it's a little bit theory. Now let's jump into the implementation. Okay, let's see that. All right, so I'm going to create a separate package for collections. New package. Inside these collections, I'm going to create a new class, new class, C1 underscore list. And I want C1 underscore collections underscore list. All right. So this is the main method where now we have seen the hierarchy. Okay. Inside the hierarchy, first thing is array list. Right? Java images. See, inside this collection, iterable collection list, we have the first thing is array list. For interfaces, we cannot create objects. That is a rule that again we learn in detail when we are in object-oriented programming. So we have these classes. For classes only we can create object. So let us see. The first class is array list, right? So now let us use that array list. Okay. Right. Array list. So inside this array list, how do we create an object for this array list? Array list is a class name, right? This is a class, right? Saw it. If it is green color, it is a class. Okay. So array list is a class inside the collection framework. Or I can also show you inside this JRE library. If I go inside this java.base, you will have a package called collection. This java.util. Yeah. You see here, you have to find array list class here. You see, what is this? Array list class. This is from java.util package, which is inside your Java binary directly. You see, JRE system library version 15. Whatever the Java version you installed, inside that you'll have this package java.util, and inside that util package you will have all the collections framework, array lists, and then you'll also have linker list, hash map, hash set, right? Linked hash map, linked hash set, linker lists, and you'll also have set, MNOPQR set, sorted set, whatever the framework, whatever the diagram I have shown you, all those classes and interfaces are present inside this. Okay, so those are all present inside this util package. Now array list is a class which is already present in java.util package. Now I want to create, or I want to use that array list class. So I have to create an object for it. Array list. You see, array list is from java.util package. I want this array list. Okay. Now currently I'm creating generic without mentioning any type. Okay. Array list. This is the type of variable that I'm going to create and the variable value. Array list is equals to new array list. Okay. This is how we are going to create an object for this array list. Now, if you want to add values into this array list, it's a method. Okay, this is creating an object. Array list. Okay. And then now, values to okay. Now we have this object ARY list. Normally, if you want to add values into an array, what we used to do, we used to keep like this, give the index and then assign the value, something like this, right? But now this is not an array, this is an array list, and it is not going to use index mechanism. So we cannot store values into an array list using this. Then what we can, since this is a class, there are some methods already implemented inside this class. What are those methods? Let us dot. You see, there is a method called add, and I can pass this text. That's all. And I can also add any other values. Array list dot add. Okay, and I'll say, and then it is not going to stop us, or it is not going to throw any error. Okay, etc. Then add. Now, see, I added 4 different values. I never mentioned the size of this array list. I know there are warnings. These are warnings because we are not using, we are not mentioning the type here clearly. See, array list is of raw type. We have to mention some generic type. We can also create like this. We will see that mentioning type later. Okay. I can also store inside this. Since I did not mention any data type, it will be by default treated as an object. I can store strings and numbers as well. You see, I can pass number, I can pass string, and I can also pass Boolean values.
Well, once you give the array list, it will automatically, the input will come. Array list control space we gave. What did you give?
Where? Here? Yeah. Control space. Then you just type this. Anytime, anywhere, if you want intelligence and you want to see that value, then you just use control space. That's all. Anytime. There won't be any difference for anything. Okay.
It is a class like a scanner class, right?
Yes, exactly. Same as scanner, it is a class. Scanner is from java.io package, input output package, and this array list is from java.util package. Under utilities, we have the collections framework. Okay, that is the only difference. That's all. That is from other package. This is from other package. So now you see, if when we are discussing about arrays, if I created string array, I will be able to store only strings. If I created an integer array, I will be able to store only integers. But here I created non-generic type, common type, without mentioning any data type. So that is why I am able to use any values, strings, numbers, booleans. I can also use decimals, or whatever the values you want to use, you can add. So by default, whenever you are filling the size, or by default, whenever you are adding values into it, the memory allocations or the size of this array list will be automatically, dynamically going to change in the background. You don't see it, you don't have to worry about it. By default, it is going to update the size and then add everything. Here we are not going to get any point of time index out of bounds exception. Here we are not going to get it. Understood? Then to read the values, from array list. If you want to read values from array list, then You want to get it, right? Now you added, but now I want to read it, right? So to read it, array list dot, I want to get value from it. So that is why we have a get method, and which is taking the index. You can use this index method, or you can apply a for loop. You know this, right? Array list. So to have this array list, these are dynamic. Sorry, this array list is dynamic in nature. So we can have same as for arrays, we have length method. Here we have size method for arrays, array list. Okay, now it is going to improve, have it. Then I can use this statement and then use this array list dot get of id. That's all. This is going to print me all the values. So this is how we create a collection object. This is how we are going to store the values, and this is how we are going to retrieve the values. This is the basic information we are learning about array list today. Tomorrow we'll see lot more methods which are present inside this array list.
Can I put like in the ad itself? Can I do Nikhil Gunda, comma, Yanji, comma, Sharab? Can I do like that?
That will become a single string, right?
Oh.
If I pass here, that will become a single string. The single string is having both the names. You can do that. It's not a problem. You cannot add like this. You cannot add like this. You see, there is no such method inside this array list. This is going to take only one parameter. You see here, add int object in the type array list is not applicable for the argument string state. You cannot pass two strings. Understood? We have only one. Now let me run this and see, and we can wind up for today. See, is it printing all the values, whatever I gave? Nikhil, Yanji, Sharab, Bobby, 1, 2, 3, and false. We have everything. You see, Nikhil, Yanji, Sharab, Bobby, 1, 2, 3, and false.
What will it take the size? How many values you have given that size it will take? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You see here size. This size is going to dynamically get the number of elements inside this.
Oh, okay.
That is why it is getting this. Why is it not printing? Okay, I did not print it here. That's why it is not printing here. So, they are my list dot get. See, this is sample, and then I for you also print the size. Number of in array list is array list dot size. Size. You see there is a size method which is written in integer value. What is it? Returns the number of elements in this list. Just number of elements in the list. So array list dot size. That's all. So the same number I am using in the for loop. Understood? Number of elements in the array list is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now I am going to add another value. Array list dot add. I will add dot 4, 5, 6. Okay. Earlier it was 6. Now let us see. 7. And we are also getting the 7th value. Okay. So array list size is dynamic in nature. By default, it will be increasing or decreasing the size automatically. Now, for suppose I am going to comment all this. Now, how many values I added? Only 3, right? Now let us see. Let us run and this is see the size. What is the size? Only 3. So by default, if you are adding values, it is increasing the size. If you are removing the values, it is decreasing the size, right? That's all. So this is the basic introduction about the array list. So it's already 8:25. We have 5 more minutes left. Do you have any questions in this topic, or in constructors, or in method parameterization? No? Okay. So know that. So I'll add a task for you. Okay. Task is create a method to. Okay, already there is a method add. Create a method. Create an array list and store the values from console, that is user input. The input. Here the condition is you need to read the inputs until the user says no inputs. You know how to implement this, right? You have to write a while loop. You have to read the console. It will ask, do you want to enter more values? If you say yes, then it should read and then add into the array list. If you say no, then it should stop and then now print the values that you stored in the array list. Okay, so these are the two tasks. Okay, you take the inputs from the user, repeat it inside a while loop. If I say until I say no, you should take the inputs and store inside this array list. Once you store all the inputs that you needed, then you print the values that you already stored. I mean, what you read from the console and stored in the array list, you print those values inside. You read and print those values. So these are the tasks for you on array list. Okay. All right. So then, have a good night, guys. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.